Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I will just give it a couple of, no, not a couple, I'll give it 1 minute for a few people to join us and then we'll get started. Okay, we'll get started now. Okay, hello. Good afternoon, and welcome to ELMO's latest webinar, Introducing Career Development, Closing Capability Gaps in Moments, Not Months. It's wonderful you've all logged on to join us today. As we are meeting, sorry. As we are meeting from various locations, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we are all meeting. For me, that's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present as early innovators and acknowledge their significant contributions to science and technology throughout land, water, and culture. So a quick admin from us, you are in listen only mode, so you can hear us and we can't hear you. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent to you on Friday. I encourage you to ask your questions in the Q&A box, and we will send a follow-up email next week with all the answers. So why are you joining us today? Because career development is one of the biggest reasons your people leave. Yet it's also one of the hardest things for HR teams to operationalize. We hear it constantly. The frameworks take forever. You're working off static inputs. It's completely dependent on manager availability. And even when you do find the gaps, then what? So what happens? Career development becomes a nice to have instead of a need to have. It falls off the to-do list, and the risk of not doing it is huge. And we've been listening. And that's why today we're excited to introduce career development, which is available now. It's our newest capability built to eliminate the gap between knowing your people need development and actually delivering it. So instead of spending months building frameworks and spreadsheets, career development uses AI to generate capability frameworks from your existing job data, surface skill gap through manager-led assessments, and create personalised learning content, all within one platform. So who are you going to hear from today? First, we'll have Justin, our Head of Talent Capability and Workplace Experience, and what we call Customer Zero. That means he's been at the forefront of career development, testing and refining it in real HR scenarios, guided by what HR professionals actually care about, because we're users too. And next, you'll see a live demonstration from James, our Solutions Consultant Manager. He'll walk through how career development works end to end, from framework generation to gap analysis to personalised learning delivery. So let's do a quick poll to start. What is your current process for identifying skills gaps and building learning pathways? Okay, seeing some answers come in. Okay, great. So quite a few are saying we haven't been able to. Quite a few are saying a combination of methods. Very few are saying HR systems. We're only about 6%. So that's great to kind of know. It sort of validates, why we've created it. So let's jump in. I'm going to end the poll here. So Justin, take us to the start. Why would you want to build a capability framework?
Thanks, Elise. Well, according to our 2026 HR Industry Benchmark Report, hot off the press today, by the way, peeps, the #1 challenge for organisations across ANZ is upskilling, reskilling and cross-skilling employees. And depending on which research you read, and probably through your lived experiences as HR practitioners, career development is typically one of the top 3 reasons why employees leave businesses. Now, capability frameworks traditionally form the foundations and underpin a lot of critical strategic HR work. Organisations may build frameworks to define and support organisational design, so think mergers, acquisitions or restructures, and they can help them inform talent and learning strategies for your organisation to really get a clear baseline and understanding of where capability sits today versus where it needs to be for the future. And lastly, they're super helpful in building career pathways within an organisation, which really helps from a growth and employee retention perspective. Now, it's not just about building capability frameworks, though. It's about what you do with them that matters most. So once frameworks are built, you might typically run some sort of capability assessment undertaking, and this will really help you understand what are the capability gaps and strengths from an organisational and an individual standpoint, so you can really make smarter decisions about whether to build, buy, borrow, or even partner for the capability that you need. Now, it's not just important from that organizational standpoint, but also really important and critical for leaders and employees. These frameworks and subsequent assessment activity really provide clarity, transparency, and also visibility about what is expected and allow for robust development planning and conversations that are really anchored in data. So from my experiences, it really helps leaders and employees alike to understand strengths, growth areas, and really can show what a realistic path forward could look like.
So it does sound labor intensive. How have you previously done it in the past?
So you're absolutely correct there, Elise. It has been labor intensive in the past. When it comes to building a capability framework for me, depending on the size of your organization, how deep into the organization that you're going into, it could be a months long, potentially even up to a year long exercise. So for me, it really involved having a viewpoint and perspective on the fundamental design and guardrails of the capability framework, and then consulting with and co-creating with functional areas and leaders across the business. So I was working across Excel spreadsheets, housing things on static sites like SharePoint or Confluence pages. I really didn't have a single source of truth at times, and the ongoing maintenance was manual and so painful. Now, when it comes to the capability assessment component, this has also been a separate sort of manual process. So once you have the framework in place and it exists, running an assessment, and that could be a self-assessment, manager, or a combination, that really meant setting up a separate survey or assessment for each job family across the business. I've done this in SurveyMonkey, Qualtrics, even our own survey tool. And I've sometimes even seen it done in Excel manually, which again, is a bit of a nightmare from, for source of truth and maintenance perspective. Again, time intense, manual, and really disconnected from any other systems. Now those activities are really, really great and really fundamental, but really the real challenge is around activation. So you do all of this work, build the framework, and then really depended on the engagement of different leaders across the business to really help it land and embed it successfully. So connecting it to performance, learning pathways, and actual development plans is often where I've seen organizations get stuck. So really where the magic has come to life for me is through the quality and robust development conversations that can take place between the leader and employee once you've undertaken these exercises. So once you've got the data on those capability gaps and strengths, employees and leaders often don't know really when to start. I've seen that through team leaders in large organizations still struggle to be able to identify what are those right experience, exposure, or education activities that can help someone build a specific capability. So they really get stuck in actually taking action, which is so important and critical to employee engagement, employee growth, and also retention.
I'm sure I'm not the only one here who has, who's been either manager trying to like upskill your employees or, promised a development plan and just seen nothing. So this is very exciting. You've been using the solution for a little while now. What can you tell everyone today about like your observations?
Yeah, so like a lot of people on this call, we're not, HR teams are not, we're overly resourced. You're not sort of flooded with resources. So I'm a team of one when it comes to the capability space. So previously I was building the framework from scratch, working with a business along the way. And it took 4 to 6 months just for me to get around 60% coverage across the organization. And that involved me doing the heavy lifting myself, plus then consulting with different functional leads across the business. Whilst also I was juggling other priorities. So I look after talent and also workplace as well. So it was very intense and time consuming. Now, fast forward 2 years, AI is here, right? So it's widely used and prevalent in our day to day. And having recently used our career development capability with the integration of AI elements, it's been a game changer for me. So what previously took me that 4 to 6 months, I've been able to achieve the same coverage within weeks through an accelerated pilot program. And the goal for me is that it's all integrated within the ELMO platform. So it's no longer sitting on disconnected tools where the maintenance, is really hard to actually keep control of. So now I really want to reiterate a really key thing for me is that even with the AI elements, never has the human in the loop concept been more important. So AI will do a lot of the heavy lifting, but it still needs your HR experience and expertise. It needs your knowledge of HR best practice, and understanding of the nuance and context specific to your organization. So the real value lies in the augmentation and combination of AI and your experience as a HR professional. So it's your ability to consult and partner with a business to co-create an impactful and effective solution. That's really where you're going to get the magic and most out of it. And like anything, when it comes to AI, data quality really, really matters. So good data quality in means good outputs from the back of it. So the AI really produces, and the quality of what AI produces depends on the quality of what you have already in the system. So up-to-date position descriptions, accurate job role data and structures. The better that foundational data is, the better the output that you will get. Now, lastly, like what are managers saying? So anecdotally, some of the managers that we've had as part of our pilot program really found the gap analysis component really helpful. So that gave them the ability to assess their employees, have a bit of a report that they could then talk to. They could sit down and have a good conversation, talk about the feedback, what they have, why they've rated them a specific way, and get it a two-way conversation so the employee could also give their perspective as well. Then last but not least is the learning pathways. These really stand out for me. And what I love about them is the fact it's not just about a course. So often you'll hear leaders, development equals course. Now we know as HR practitioners, it's bigger and broader than that. And how people develop, it really sits through the 3 E's of experience, exposure, and education. So the way the learning pathways were designed are really more anchored to that experience and exposure component. So that's been really helpful. And the feedback that I've had from my team specifically was how really impressed they were with the personalization of those plans and how it generated some ideas for them to be thinking about how can they really activate and develop and grow moving forward.
That's awesome. And I think we're about to jump in. So James, if you want to share your screen, you can demo it and we'll see it in action.
Great. Thanks, Elise. Thanks, Justin. If I get a thumb up when the screen's coming through, and we'll run through it. Great, fantastic. Thanks, team. So yeah, I wanted to give everyone a bit of an idea of what the new capability framework functionality allows us to do in the ELMO system. Here's Daisy. Daisy is an accountant in my organization. So she's looking for some professional development. Her manager, Leroy, wants to run a gap analysis to see where her time will be best spent with that development. What are the focus areas that we should, I guess, be focused on? And so how do we run that within the ELMO system? And that's what I wanted to show us today. So with the new capability framework, if I jump across to the administrative experience, you can see that we can initiate and set up that framework. The first step in the process is to define our proficiency scales. This is what will be used to set the targets for our capabilities, which we'll be using in a future step. And it's essentially the first stage of setting our capability libraries and our job families so that we can run that gap analysis that we're looking to deliver for Daisy. You can see here, to Justin's point a little bit earlier, all of our AI generation, all of our content generation in the tool utilizes human in the loop. So at this point, we have sort of a defined proficiency scale, but you can see I can add additional content. I can make changes to the content that has been generated using the editing tools. At the end of the day, you're the HR professional. You're the one making the decisions within the system.
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting and important point that James has just pointed out there is that from an organizational standpoint, you as HR practitioners would need to sort of determine based on your organizational structure, how you're sort of set up as a business, what's the right proficiency scale that you want that will help set you up for success. So as an example, you might determine that a 6-level scale is most relevant for you to give you 3 individual contributor levels and 3 manager levels that you might want to deploy. So you can see James doing that on the screen right now.
Right. Once we have that proficiency scale defined, we move through to the next step, and this is where, again, the AI generation steps in. You can see the first step of this generation is to group the job roles that we have in the system into our job families. So what the tool is going to do here is it's going to be reading our job roles, it's going to read our position descriptions, our skills information, our experience, our job profiles, our hierarchies, take into account our industry context and size of organization as well. And it's going to generate us a grouped list of job roles. And here's one I prepared earlier, just for the interest of time today, on the job families that have been generated. You can see that for each family, It's identified the key roles that fit within those families. It's given descriptive information. It's given key outlines of those roles. And once again, the human in the loop being able to make changes here if need be. The final step along the process is to generate a capability library. So now that we have that proficiency scale, now that we have those job families, we can move through to generating our full library of capabilities. And again, here's what that would look like. You can see that based on each of those job families, the system has generated functional and core capabilities, applied those to the relevant job families, given each a description, as well as ranked each of those proficiencies that we defined on step 1 for each of those functionalities. Justin, did you want to talk a little bit about the core and functional capabilities here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, James. Here again, this is where your HR expertise really comes into play, and that human in the loop. It's really critical. And potentially where you might want to consult with your leadership teams to get an agreement on approach. So when it comes to core capabilities, these are the capabilities that you determine to be relevant across the whole organization. It doesn't matter what role you sit or what part of the business that you sit within. So you might want to think about what's our organizational strategy, what's our people strategy aligned to the organizational strategy, and what are the most critical, impactful core capabilities that we would want everyone to be able to develop that can help differentiate you from your competitors and set you up for future success. So you might want to determine what are the boundaries and guardrails we want to operate within here. So we might want 5 core capabilities across the organization, plus another 7 sort of functional capabilities to give us sort of a confined and consistent view in how we would deploy that across the business. Now, when it comes to the functional capabilities, this is where it gets a lot more specific to the actual job role and function, and they're a lot more nuanced, and they really refer to those capabilities across different function areas that really help, within those job families, build the right capability. So the functional capabilities will look very different across different parts of the business. So what those capabilities are for people and culture would be quite different to marketing. But they also might connect, which is where you can really see the magic when it comes to career pathways coming to life. What are the capabilities that I have that I've been building in my current role? What are the positions I'm aspiring to? And what other parts of the business do roles have similar capabilities that I could then potentially cross-board into?
And so now we have all of this great content. We have our job roles grouped into job families. We've generated our capability library. We've made adjustments and changes to the content that's been generated. Now, how do we run that gap analysis? Well, the first step in that process is to set the expectations or the targets for each of those job families that we now have. So here is my accounting and finance job family. Let's go ahead and edit those targets here. And you can see for each of the roles within this family, I'm setting the expectation of proficiency for each of those core and functional capabilities that we've just generated. And so for my accountant role, just as an example, you can see the sort of generated targets, and we can make overrides and decisions at this point as well. But relevant for Daisy, we can come in. Oh, sorry, she is an accountant, so this is going to be relevant for Daisy when we move through to the gap analysis. We'll be able to compare her skill set to the expected skill set of the role.
So you can see within this example that if I was a tax accountant, I would have clarity around what are the expectations for my current role. But if I aspire to become an accountant, I also would then be able to visualize that, understand what that looks like, and then really aggressively go to develop the capabilities needed to set myself up for success.
And so the next step actually moves across to the manager perspective. Now that we have these targets set for our accounting and finance family, we've identified the proficiency scales for each of those roles. As Daisy's manager, Leroy, I can now provide that feedback directly through the tool. And so here's, once again, just one I prepared earlier, but now as Leroy, I'm providing that feedback directly for Daisy. I'm saying, okay, based on what I know of Daisy and my team, what is her proficiency in accounting software? The system is communicating all that descriptive language for us. It's giving me the outline of those proficiency scales that we've built and generated, and I'm able to go through and provide feedback on exactly where I think Daisy fits within the skill set for her role. Once we've captured all of that feedback, the output is the capability gap analysis report here. So a couple of quick items on this one. The system clearly identifies key capability gaps for Daisy. You can see this is Daisy's specific report at the top there. So as an example, based on the feedback that we've just provided, our expectation of communication is a proficient level, whereas Daisy sits at aware. So that's probably a core capability gap that we should address with the training that's coming soon. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, the system is also generating some priority recommendations. So just like we saw in that graph, that communication proficiency is the biggest gap that Daisy has. There's some other sort of core capabilities that are missing as well, and we can see where she's sitting comfortably on the right-hand side.
So what I loved about this when I ran this through with my team was, number one, the visual representation, really clearly articulating where are their strengths or potential development opportunities for each of my employees. I sat down and showed them on this screen. We had a good conversation. I sort of gave examples of why I've rated them a certain way, and they could give their perspective. But we really sort of aligned around what that looked like. And, sometimes you might be challenged on how you've rated them, and that's great. A really healthy, robust conversation is really important. But really clearly set out what are the areas, and we agreed on the areas that they might want to really focus and double down on to really sort of get them to stretch and grow within their roles.
And the beauty of all of this is we can use the ELMO learning system to now automatically generate personalized training content for Daisy. So again, we'll skip the actual creation step here, but we'll go to the outcome. Now I'm logged in as Daisy in my capability assessment. And you can see here the system has generated core learning objectives for Daisy to review. It's identified the most important gaps that we found in this review. It's communicating information such as, why does this capability matter to your role? What are the core concepts that you need to understand? And it's built out an integration plan for Daisy. So as Justin mentioned earlier, it's not just a 30-minute online course that I, tick the box and now I'm great at communication. It's a weeks to months long plan of integrating this skill set into my day-to-day life.
Yeah, what I loved having run through this again with my team, I'll come back to that, was the feedback I got from the specific individuals in my team was how great and how personalized it was. And from me, from a HR perspective and standpoint, as I said, I really like the fact that it is more grounded in that experiential and exposure component. So there's some real practical ways that people can develop those through suggestions. And again, as a manager, you have the actual ability to adapt that and change some of the things. So if the specific examples that come up aren't necessarily relevant, or you might want to make them even more specific, you have the ability to do that as well to make sure that you've got your organizational context involved there.
And you can see this is intended to be a manager employee driven process. It's giving manager discussion guides built directly into the course as well.
Exactly. So what that helped us to do is really sort of and have a good, robust conversation. We sat down, we walked through it, looked through the plan, but then agree on a collective plan forward. So it's their job to own their development, but it's my job as a leader to help support them on the way, open up opportunities, enable their growth and development. So it's a really good two-way conversation that has added a lot of extra value. And what I also like through this experience as well, you can see we've actually gone across 3 different modules within the ELMO platform, but the experience is really seamless and really connected. So people won't actually realize that that's what they're doing throughout that journey. So we've gone from capability framework build to assessment survey to then, learning pathway.
Awesome. Hopefully that's given everyone a good idea of what the capability framework looks within ELMO, or looks like, sorry, within ELMO, and what you'll be able to achieve with this new functionality. I think it's passing back to Elise.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, James. That was awesome. You just touched on it briefly, Justin, but can you kind of reiterate for everyone what ELMO products you will need for career development?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's three products. So it's HR Core with position led. It's then also that's obviously for the framework development build. So that reads off your position description, your position led frameworks, your job framework and structure. Then you move into survey. So from the assessment component is built within our survey capability. And then finally moving on over to the learning module. So that's where your learning pathway would be automatically developed. It would sit and be pushed out to the individual. So they would get it in their learning list of what they've got to complete. And then once they've completed that, that'll sit on their learning record as well. So it really shows, what they've actually done and the work that they've committed to for their growth.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We do have quite a few questions. What we will do though is go away, answer them, make sure they're correct. I know that some of them we could probably answer on the fly, but we do want to just cross our T's and dot our I's. So look out for an email from us next week with the answers as well as the recording itself. I do want to thank Justin and James for putting in the effort today and showing us the product. We're really excited about it. If you wouldn't mind completing this end of session feedback survey and letting us know how we do, that will always help us to improve. And if you are an ELMO customer, so you can speak to your account manager about the products you need in order to access it. If you're not an ELMO customer, you can obviously book a demo with us at any time through the site. So thanks again. Thanks so much. Have wonderful days, and we will see you at the next one.
Great.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks, James.
Thanks all.
everyone.
All right, see you